There comes a moment within a majority of people's lives where peace doesn't look like calm oceans or soft music in the background with white noise, lingering. However, it looks like walking away from everything that you thought you had to be. It looks like letting go of the stories you told yourself about who you were, the stories that you thought defined you, the stories which you felt, tell you what you should want and what success was supposed to look like. Real peace, instead, from time to time, will demand a death. Not physical, but an internal death. A quiet shedding of your old self. You cannot chase peace while dragging along identities built on survival, approval, or performance. And that is the part that no one can prepare you for. Everybody states that they want peace, obviously, it's a human instinct. You want peace in your life. However, a lot of people ignore the grief that typically comes with peace. Actually, 100% will come with peace. Because finding peace isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming a different person. And it's about becoming different to the parts which you once thought would define your old journey. Why can't I speak? The parts of you that won't make the journey. The overthinking parts, the people-pleasing parts, the parts of you that needed validation before acting upon anything. The parts of you that kept everything quiet until your opinions resonated with others. And those parts of you, they weren't flaws. They shouldn't stay as flaws. Instead, treat them as wounds. Treat them as things that were formed to protect you. However, if you never let go of them, eventually they'll start to suffocate you. Once you decide to prioritize peace, once you decide to truly prioritize it as, your true meaning, those roles in your life have to go. You have to be willing to disappoint people. You have to be willing to be misunderstood by people. To not explain yourself to anyone. And that is the price that peace demands. And many people will never want to pay that. So they'll stay stuck. They'll stay addicted to the chaos, familiar with their inner noise, chasing stillness while holding on to everything that keeps them moving, everything that keeps them from it. It's like trying to swim to shore with a backpack full of fucking bricks or weights, trying to climb a mountain with 1,000 kilos on your back. It's irrational. Something has to be left behind. Lao Tzu once wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." That isn't just poetic. Instead, it's an instruction. Letting go isn't a passive motive. Instead, it's a painful action which comes with severe consequences. Letting go of what you are means to, unlearn the reflexes that you've taken your entire life to learn. It means watching your ego die 1,000 quiet deaths. It means finding yourself in situations where your old self would want to react, to defend and to prove. But your peaceful self, the self that you're actually building, simply allows it to pass by you. Not because you're weak, but because you've decided that the inner stillness that you seek matters more to you than temporary satisfaction. But the trap, the moment in between, is where the old self has started to die, but the new self hasn't fully arrived. You're in between the spectrum. Here's your old past self and here's your new self. You're right in the middle. That is where most people panic. It feels like floating. It feels like disengaging from life, derealization. You're not who you were, and nor are you who you're meant to be. Nor are you who you want to become and who you should become. And in that space, peace can often feel like loneliness. When you're on a different path from other people, it feels like you're being stranded. It feels like you're leaving everything you know behind. Because to be frank, you are. You're leaving behind the past self of yours that wasn't suited to react to the reality that's coming ahead. Peace demands sacrifice. I said it 10 times probably throughout this video already, and I'll keep telling you. Peace will feel like loneliness. That magic space in between will feel isolated. It'll feel alone. However, understanding that abandonment can feel like alignment is the whole point. The whole point is to trust that process, is to trust that alignment and that abandonment. It's trusting that emptiness. It's trusting and understanding that being empty doesn't mean you're broken. Instead, it means that you're being rebuilt. Peace will cost you old habits. Peace will cost you so many things, like reacting to old negative emotions, like running back to chaos because it feels more familiar than the calm, like making mistakes such as mistaking anxiety for drive and passion, like thinking you always have to be on to be worthy. That isn't you. That shouldn't be you. That is what you were taught when you were younger. However, that isn't the true reality of who you're meant to be. What you're taught isn't always true. You have to understand and you have to learn how to sit with silence, to not answer the impulse to prove yourself, to not chase those who drift away within your life when you start to heal. Because the more at peace you become with your current surroundings, the more at peace you become with your environment, the more people will begin to forget you and less people will begin to recognize you. And they'll try to pull you back into your old patterns, not always out of malice, sometimes because your growth confronts their comfort. And that shouldn't be your burden to carry. Which is why choosing peace is so heavy, which is why choosing peace is such a rare option nowadays. Because you're going to miss your old self a lot of the times. The version of you which made everyone laugh even when you were hurting. The version of you which always said yes even when you were exhausted and you didn't want to. But understand and learn that peace doesn't need applause. It doesn't seek recognition throughout life. Peace just is. It's quiet, it's steady, and it's enough. Which again is why peace is rare, like I said. Because it doesn't require simple change. Instead, it requires a whole transformation, a whole new life to be built upon where the old one was. Not just rest, but rebirth. It's a switch that you're flipping. It's a life that you're choosing every single day in, every single decision that you make, every single, I feel like Mike Tyson, every single thing that you respond to in what you tolerate, it's everything that you let go of. You're never going to feel it instantly. Some might, but it's very irrational to feel it instantly. If you're feeling it instantly, to be frank, you might be feeling something different than actual peace. Some days will feel very, very hollow. However, slowly, without fanfare, without some sort of external applause or validation, some approval, you'll start to notice that you're not triggered in the same way that you were before. You're not as reactive to simple tomfoolery, to simple comments that are targeted towards you. Instead, your mind is quieter and it's more rational. It thinks instead of responding immediately. And in that silence that you exist in, you'll meet a version of yourself that was buried under all the noise, buried under the applause. Because once you close those curtains and you go behind the backstage, you'll find a self which isn't defined by performance or fear or external validation. That is your peace. But again, it does cost. It costs a lot. It costs pretending. It costs sacrificing your old self. And it costs performance. It costs so much, which is why the payoff is so massive as well. The true question to ask yourself, I want you to journal this, even for 10 minutes can be helpful, 5 minutes can be helpful. I want you to journal this question I'm about to ask you. Are you willing to let that old version of yourself go? Because if you are, peace is waiting for you. Not just out there, but in here. Because it was always in here. It's always been within you. Thank you so much for listening.